Hello and welcome all to the second day of the 2024 American Solidarity Party Speaker Series. Today we'll be having our very own vice presidential candidate, Lauren Onak. But first, we wanted to bring to you the newest ad for the Sonsky-Onak campaign.
I'm the father of 9 adult children and the grandfather so far of 6 grandchildren. I've always been pro-life, and the one thing I know confidently is that pro-life people are people of principle. Today is the day for pro-lifers to send a very clear, very principled message. We will not capitulate. We will not compromise. We will not support a candidate or a party that does not uphold the inalienable right to human life. My message to you is that America has a reliable, pro-life option in Peter Sonsky and the American Solidarity Party. Please, vote for the greater good. Vote for the principles that you and I uphold. Vote for life.
Paid for by the American Solidarity Party.
Lauren was born and raised in the suburbs of Fort Lauderdale. She studied English literature at Barnard College of Columbia University and received a master's in adolescent education from Hunter College. Now living in the Boston suburbs, she is actively involved in several community organizations, and she teaches natural family planning. Currently, she's the Massachusetts state coordinator for the party, and she's a stay-at-home mom for 3 children, and of course, our vice presidential candidate. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome Lauren Onak.
Thank you, Will, for that kind introduction. I hope that everyone watching has been enjoying tuning into these talks, learning more about our principles and where we stand on various issues. Certainly a wealth of information that you can go back and watch later, when you have time. But I would definitely encourage you because these are some really important words that people have been saying today. And it's 9 o'clock on a Saturday. I'm running on fumes. I'm sure many of you who are parents who had to deal with Halloween this week are feeling the same way. There's going to be the time change tonight. Those of us with kids, it doesn't make a difference. We're not getting more sleep. So I'm not going to take up a lot of your time. I wanted to share a few thoughts, things that have come to me during these last few weeks of the campaign at various events that I've been speaking at. And I hope that they resonate with you. I hope that they speak to your experience as well. When I was about a week or 2 ago, I was speaking at Boston College. And that was a really interesting talk because I only spoke for maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I kind of told my story. I talked about my daughter, my pregnancy with my disabled daughter, and how that really affected my pro-life convictions. And the Q&A then went for an hour. The students really wanted to find out, they wanted someone to talk to about why they should vote a certain way. I had 2 Pennsylvania voters within the group of students. And what was interesting was they were both grilling me with questions, but it was obvious from their questions that the 2 of them probably didn't agree on who the greater evil or the lesser of the 2 evils was. And it got me thinking about this 4-year cycle that we find ourselves on and how limiting it is for the people that I'm talking to, the young people that I'm talking to. For a lot of us, before we kind of can find some peace in a new third party, we're so focused on just the next election and winning and the next 4 years. And it can be so hard to break out of that mentality. And these students said, well, what if this person does this? And what if this person does this? And there was no sense of the long game of the pro-life cause or any other issue that we stand for. And so one thing that I've just been thinking about a lot the last few weeks of this campaign have been, how do we break out of this mentality of a 4-year cycle, for me, I think that looks like local engagement. And I hope for you that's true as well. The presidential race, even though I'm running in it, is not the thing that deserves all of the attention and all of your attention and nothing else. And what I've learned through the American Solidarity Party and what I've seen is a lot of people of goodwill, a lot of people of faith getting plugged into their local communities, running for local office, learning how to run. And I just want to say, we're all learning it together. We are all here to help each other out. And I know for sure there are people in the party who never thought they would be running for office. I certainly never thought I would be running for Vice President of the United States. But with the help of the community of the American Solidarity Party, we will, we give each other tools, we give each other pep talks. And I really think that it has helped a lot of people see that their values might be missing in the place where they live because they're not putting their voice out there to be heard. So I wanted to just offer that encouragement of not allowing yourself to get stuck in the 4-year cycle, and also just encouraging the people around you to say, hey, there's still going to be town elections, in my case, in 6 months. Those are going to have an impact on my day-to-day life as well. We're still going to be trying to figure out affordable housing in my town in 6 months. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to impact the day-to-day life of people that are still going to be relevant and necessary for us to work on after the election. The second thing I wanted to talk about, and something that I've noticed come up in my conversations with young people. So a lot of middle school, high school civics teachers have reached out to me and Peter, which is wonderful. It's wonderful for us to get a chance to speak to kids really outside of our typical audience. And so they make questionnaires, they do different things, and we just, zoom into their classroom and get to talk to them. One thing I've noticed kids asking a lot about in these types of settings is, how can you base your party's values on Christianity? How can you expressly appeal to Christian voters? Doesn't it have to be, appeal to everyone, be the same for everyone? And it was really fascinating to me to hear this question over and over from these kids. And it reminded me of a talk I went to years and years ago in New York City. The talk was by a professor at NYU. He was a Jewish man. His name's J.H.H. Weiler. And he actually represented Italian schools in a trial at the European Court of Human Rights that was reversing an earlier decision telling the Italian schools they needed to take down crucifixes inside the classroom. So basically, Italian schools had crucifixes in their classroom. The European Court of Human Rights, European Court of Human Rights, said they had to take it down. And then this Jewish man, a lawyer, was arguing that no, Italy had the right to keep them. They were part of their culture. And, he sort of talked about the strangeness of him being the one defending this case, and he ended up winning. But one thing he said during that talk that has stuck with me all these years is he kind of gestured to the wall behind him and he said, "There's no such thing as a blank wall." He said, "There's no such thing as a public square stripped of every sign of religion and traditional morality. It just doesn't exist. By taking the crucifix off the wall is still saying something." And I don't know, or I don't hear from young people that understanding that there is a secular ideology in their school, in the government, amongst politicians that is just as principled in its own way as traditional Christian morality is. And so to me, I may have just cut out, I'm not sure. It's fascinating to me to think about this phrase. There's no such thing as a blank wall. There's no such thing. And so we can be proud of the fact that we're bringing our morals to our politics, that we're putting on our identity as Christians and as people of goodwill before our political affiliation. I think that's the number one thing that unites people that vote for us, is they don't make a political party their identity necessarily, but they know who they are in their faith, and they know who they are as children of God. So I've just been telling students that every political philosophy has an ideology attached to it. And things about that person are going to affect the policy decisions they're going to make, whether they're a Christian or not. And so that has been a really interesting and sort of difficult question that I've come across now several times over the course of the campaign. But I think it's worth defending this idea that gospel values can be applied to policy, and there's nothing strange about that. The last thing I want to mention is kind of planning for the next few days, because no matter who wins, I mean, if Peter and I win, everyone's going to be happy, obviously. But if that doesn't happen, no matter who wins, there are going to be a lot of very upset, unhappy, worried people around us. And my thoughts over the past few days have turned to, how can those of us who believe in the principles of the American Solidarity Party be instruments of healing for our nation, for our fellow citizens after this election? Because we want to make these small changes, person by person, convincing, like I said, breaking out of the 4-year cycle and bringing person by person to see that there's a better way to do politics. But I hear a lot of rhetoric like, I don't know how someone could vote for X. And we really need to remove that kind of vocabulary, that kind of thinking. So those of us in the ASP, we have a book club. We're kind of nerdy like that, but it's optional. Don't worry. So we read a book last summer by Monica Guzman, who's the founder of Braver Angels. If you haven't checked out that organization, or you don't know what it is, Braver Angels brings red and blue people into dialogue with each other. It's sort of an active listening workshop, skills workshop. And it helps people who are feeling like they need to be able to figure out how to talk to friends, family who disagree with them politically. It's a great resource. It helps heal a lot of divides in communities. Their founder, Monica Guzman, wrote a book called I Never Thought of It That Way. And the ASP Book Club read it this past summer. Monica's story is that she's a liberal daughter of Mexican immigrants who voted for Trump. So her parents voted for Trump, she voted for Clinton, and that sort of is what this book. So was people's reactions to that scenario. And one of the things she says in the book is that everyone has a reason for what they choose to do, even if it doesn't seem reasonable to you. No one does something without their own reasons. This is a really helpful framework to be going into the election with. Everyone has their reasons And we may try to give them our best reasoning. They might, in good faith, disagree with us. So I bring this up because I really hope that, and I've seen within the party, because we draw people from various political histories and pasts, we do have to sort of work to find that common ground. We don't always use the same language to refer to the same things, and we have a little bit of separation between us sometimes. And we do have to bridge that gap with understanding context, histories. And so sometimes we need to think about whether we've surrounded ourselves with an echo chamber and we need to sort of listen to some other opinions, not to compromise on our values at all, simply to hear the arguments from the other side. I want to encourage everyone going into Election Day to be hopeful for our country. I know like I said, it's going to be a tough day. People are going to be upset no matter what happens. But I would like to encourage people to go into the election hopeful that this campaign, I hope, and I know Peter hopes as well, has sparked in a lot of people of goodwill a renewed interest in political engagement. I got a text today from a friend saying they had a friend who voted in the presidential race for the first time in 12 years for our ticket because they found out about us and they had never found a candidate that expressed their values before. And that's the reason we're doing this, is that we want people to walk away from the ballot box feeling good. We want to reignite Christians and other people of goodwill to plug back in, to be the sort of spark in your community, run for local office, learn about your local issues. Without that change and that movement towards re-engagement and civil re-engagement, which is something that we really emphasize, we will just see the same sort of fear-inspired four-year cycles repeating. When you opt out of that, and what I've found during this election season, even as a candidate with the pressures of running as a candidate, I think I'm less stressed out than my friends who are living in fear over what's going to happen next Tuesday. I can at least say I feel good about what I've chosen to do. I feel good about the values that I'm standing for. And ultimately, it's not in our hands. So I wanted to end with just that message of encouragement and to let you all know that we're getting your emails, your messages, the photos you send of your ballot. Those are all so encouraging to me and Peter. As you can imagine, not every message we get is so nice. So those kind messages, those encouraging messages, the people telling us they're praying for us, those really mean so much to us. That has been the ultimate reward for doing this campaign, has been the outpouring from people who feel that sense of hope again, or who have been party supporters for years and are excited to vote for us again. And so I really wanted to thank you. I think Peter and I will be spending a lot of time thanking people over the next few days, because we have had so many people volunteer for this campaign and give of their time and talent and treasure to get us out there and on the ballot and write-in status and all of these different things. So thank you guys for being so faithful to the party and our values. But thank you for putting your values first before any sort of political affiliation, because I think that's what makes us different as a political party. So thank you so much for your time, and I hope you continue to tune in and watch more of our talks tomorrow. Thank you.
Those are wonderful points made that are too often neglected, I think, in our political discourse now. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to tune in again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Time for our panel on the importance of third parties with Philip Hicks and Gavin Ross. God bless y'all.